there are so many weapons spread across the Marvel Universe, some incredibly powerful and scary, and others not so much, and honestly, it would be a crime to not take a closer look at them. Created by the Celestial known as Godhead, the Black Vortex is a somewhat sentient mirror-like object that shows an individual what they would look like with their cosmic potential unleashed, and then after they say, "I submit to the Black Vortex," the individual is given that power. It's also capable of taking that power away, but that doesn't happen too often. Historically, Gara was the first Vescardi to submit to the power of the Vortex, and 1 year later, after a terrible war, they were left with the only surviving member of their race. Fast forward 12 billion years, then we see the Vortex in Mr. Knife's possession. However, it's been tossed around so many times since its creation that it is tough to pinpoint exactly where it is half the time. Like, seriously, it's gone from Mr. Knife to the Guardians of the Galaxy to Ronin, back to the Guardians of the Galaxy to the X-Men to Captain Marvel. It's just nuts. Other known characters who have used the power of the Black Vortex are the Slaughter Lords, Gamora, Groot, Kitty Pryde, and Ronan the Accuser. However, Groot had his powers taken away from him, which left him with a slightly altered appearance from then on. Why not check out this cosmic power unleasher for yourself in its first appearance in 2015's legendary Star-Lord number 5. Number 9. Darkhold. Years and years and years ago, the elder god known as Chthon decided to write down all of his evil works and spells so he could pass on his terrifying knowledge. Originally written on flesh, it was later transferred to stone and then to some indestructible parchment, and once it was bound together, it became known as the Darkhold or Chthon Scrolls or the Necronomicon. The book contains a vast array of powerful black magic spells, however very few can actually use them without losing their souls and becoming possessed by Chthon. These spells include, but are not limited to, accessing limbo, controlling the will of others, summoning Chthon himself, and the most famous spell, the Montesi Formula, that is meant to basically just destroy all vampires. Humans first found the Darkhold 100,000 years ago during the pre-cataclysmic era, and it has survived until the modern day, having been held by prominent characters such as the Darkholders, Zula, Mephisto, Morgan Le Fay, Baron Zemo, and Elsa Bloodstone. In the 21st century, we saw the Darkholders take interest in carnage because the prophecy stated that when the Red Slayer spills blood on sacred stone, he who sleeps shall wake and what walked will walk once more. However, this just resulted in a major buff for Carnage because he was only empowered by Chthon's presence. Take a look at the Darkhold for yourself, starting with its first appearance in 1972's Marvel Spotlight number 4. Number 8. The Muramasa Blade. Muramasa was an immortal and legendary swordsman and smith from Japan and was the creator of two of the blades that played a large role in Wolverine's life. The Black Blade and the Muramasa Blade, which is the one that Logan wielded after he recovered his memories. This blade was crafted using a piece of Wolverine's soul and is capable of cutting through pretty much anything that stands in its way. I mean, heck, it sliced through one of Cyclops' optic beams. It also has the ability to greatly reduce the efficiency of any healing factor, which Wolverine learned firsthand after he saved a minor wound from it during a fight with Captain America that took days to heal. And he used this ability to his advantage when he went up against Sabretooth's clone and cut off his arm just before he decapitated him. The forging process of this took many years, but when Muramasa finally finished it and handed it over to Logan, he told Wolverine to wield it like an angry god, and that is exactly what he did because he used it against many enemies while in possession of it, like Nuke, Wildchild, and Sabretooth. After Wolverine's temporary death, the sword was hunted down by the Orphans of X and reforged into several bullets for them to use. Take a look at this legendary sword for yourself by checking out its first appearance in 2006's Wolverine Volume 3, number 40. Number 7. Tactagon. Classified as an Omega level weapon, the Tactagon is a gauntlet-like weapon that bonds to its host. Disconnected from its original host in a battle many years ago, the Tactagon fell to Earth, landing in San Francisco, and found Violet Lightner, who it attached itself to and granted her immense power. Able to transform into the perfect weapon needed to defeat an opponent, and able to immediately figure out an opponent's weakness, the Tactagon helped her become the hero known as Armory, and this gave her the power needed to defeat Ultimo. Violet was stripped of the Tactagon not too long after because she couldn't control the power and accidentally killed MVP during training. And the next host actually ended up becoming a clone of MVP known as KIA. This also didn't last long because KIA couldn't really control the power either, and the more he fought against it, the more it held on to him. Thankfully, the Tactagon was eventually removed from his body and Tony Stark took it away to a secret location so that it could cause no more damage. Making its first appearance in 2007's Avengers The Initiative number 1, check out this alien weapon for yourself and let me know your thoughts on it. Number 6. The Mandarin's 10 Rings. Remaker, Influence, Spin, Spectrum, Nightbringer, Daemonic, Incandescence, Lightning, Zero, and the Liar, aka the 10 rings created by the McLuhan technology that found their way to Earth via the McLuhan explorer Axon Carr. The Mandarin discovered the alien in his ship and became obsessed with the rings, so much so that he killed Carr and just took them for himself. Each ring contains the soul of a long-dead legendary cosmic warrior trapped in a phantasmal state, and they grant the wielder some pretty crazy powers. The Remaker allows the Mandarin to manipulate the atomic and molecular structures of matter matter. The influence allows the Mandarin to generate and project various beams of concussive force. The spin causes the air to move about at a high speed in a vortex. The spectral allows the Mandarin to project a beam of energy capable of destroying the bonds between the atoms and molecules. The Nightbringer allows him to create an area of darkness using dark energy. The Daemonic allows him to generate and manipulate various forms of electromagnetic energy. The Incandescence Ring allows the Mandarin to project blasts of infrared to produce flame or ignite combustible materials. The Lightning Ring allows the Mandarin to project blasts of electrical energy. Zero allows him to project waves of intense cold and ice. And the Lyre magnifies the Mandarin's psionic energies, allowing him to mentally manipulate the thoughts and actions of others. Upon putting all the rings on at once, the Mandarin was flooded with thoughts of reviving the Cosmic Warriors, and many years later he actually attempted to do so. However, he never actually succeeded, and then, after his death, the rings were placed under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s watchful eye. Check out these rings for yourself in 1964's Tales of Suspense number 50. Number 5. The Odin Sword. This is a bit of a broad term considering that there are actually 3 swords that go by this name, so let's spend a little bit of time on each, shall we? The first is the Oversword of Asgard, a giant sword that if ever unsheathed means the end of the world was at hand. Over the years, several enemies of Asgard attempted to draw the Odin Sword to destroy Asgard, including Mangog, and Odin actually used the sword as a weapon for the Destroyer armor after it absorbed the souls of all of Asgard. Despite its immense power though, it was actually ineffective against all of the Celestials, which was proven when Thor threw it against Arishem the Judge's chest, and it did absolutely nothing. The second Odin Sword was Ragnarok, aka the end of all things, the sword given to Thor during the Serpent's War, which Odin stated to be the only weapon capable of defeating Kull. The third and final one isn't actually an officially confirmed Odin Sword, but it is assumed to be one. It appeared in the World Eater storyline where Thor used the giant sword to cut through space and time of the World Tree. Check out these crazy powerful swords for yourself, starting with the first appearance of them in 1965's Journey into the Mystery. Number 4. Necro Swords. The Necro Swords are bladed weapons, obviously, that are formed out of the living abyss, though they usually manifest as a separate object as opposed to covering a portion of the wielder's body like most of the symbiotes do. It's not super clear if all symbiotes can take on the form of a Necro Sword or if there are specific guidelines they have to meet. There are a few versions of these terrifying blades out there. The strongest and scariest in my opinion is the all-black Necro Sword, a massive double-headed sword capable of cleaving through the stars that was created by Null from the first symbiote All Black. This Necro Sword was also wielded by Gore the God Butcher after he witnessed a fight between Null and another god, and he used it to travel the universe killing any and every god he could find. Other non-godly beings have been able to manifest Necro Swords, as Malekith, Conan the Barbarian, and Eddie Brock have all created their own as well. The Necro Sword has even made its way into the MCU, as Hela in Thor Ragnarok was able to conjure many Necro Swords in her battle with Thor. While you're reading the comics from now on, why not keep an eye out for some other Necro Sword appearances? Number 3. Cosmic Cube. Another weapon classified as an Omega class weapon, the Cosmic Cube is an item that can control matter and energy, answering to the will of the sentient beings that use them. They require practice to be used properly, but a skillful user can alter all reality to answer to its thoughts, granting anything that they desire. In order to create a Cosmic Cube, the person must first generate a force field to open a rift to another dimension that's inhabited by the Beyonders, allowing the extra dimensional energy to filter through the rift. When entering the Earth's dimension, the energies end up being held in some sort of matrix, and the force itself is what shapes the matrix into a perfect cube and provides the cube with its almost unlimited power. Like I kinda glossed over before, the Cosmic Cube's main power is answering to the will of a person, or, put simply, wish-making. The Cosmic Cube cannot affect souls, and given the Beyonders' inability to affect time, we can presume that the cubes cannot affect time, as the cubes possess only a fraction of the Beyonders' dimension's power. After extended use, a Cosmic Cube will develop its own intelligence, often influenced by the user at the time, and will get to a point where they choose how they want to be used and can deny certain wishes if they think they don't like them. There have been many wishes granted by the Cosmic Cube, the most notable being the ones made by Reed Richards, and of course Thanos, who used the power to become one with the universe. Check out the Cosmic Cube for yourself, starting with its first appearance all the way back in 1966's Tales of Suspense number 79. Number 2. The Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet. Now I have very mixed feelings about this one because on one hand, it is literally the most powerful object in the Marvel Universe, which is super sick, but it makes me sad because it just makes me think of Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. Now I imagine we're all familiar with this weapon because its prevalence in recent years, but if you're not, don't worry, I'll give you the rundown. By itself, the Infinity Gauntlet isn't much to talk about, but once combined with the time, space, soul, reality, power, and mind gems, aka the Infinity Stones, it becomes an all-powerful force that few can put a stop to. It can do pretty much anything the user requests of it, which is terrifying if you think about it. Thanos first used the power of the Infinity Gauntlet in hopes of appeasing his love, death, and with the infamous snap, he used it to get rid of half of the population of the entire universe. Adam Warlock was the next wielder of the gauntlet, using it against Magus. However, Warlock was smart enough to replace one of the gems with a fake, which created a massive gap in Magus' powers when he came into possession of the gauntlet. Other known users of the Infinity Gauntlet are Mr. Fantastic, Nebula, Captain America, and of course, Robert Downey Jr., I mean Iron Man. I would also just like to point out that in Peter Porker's universe, Earth 8311, Thanos uses a variant of the gauntlet called the Infinity Goatlet. Check out this all-powerful weapon for yourself, starting with its first appearance in 1990 Silver Surfer Volume 3, number 44. Number 1. Staff of One. A magical staff so powerful that it is stated to have had the likes of Dormammu tremble, and that's saying something because have you seen him? The staff was formed after Tokiko Minoru bested the magical entity known as the One with a thrall army twice the size of the One's. After her victory, she presented the One with a choice: to die or to become her sword. He chose the latter and became the Staff of One. The staff was passed through generations, and Tina Minoru receives the Staff of One from Judy Minoru, who gave a speech about the rules and conditions and basically just a TLDR of using the staff like it had been done across the centuries. The current user of the staff is Nico Minoru, who is actually very proficient with it, and with its power she has gone up against the likes of the Upward Path, Arcade, the Witchbreaker, and more, and has come out on top each time. Now, I won't bore you by telling every incantation that the Staff of One is capable of because we would literally be here 4 hours, so I'll just go over a few. Forget was used to erase Jeffrey Wilder's memories. Guess what? My spells do work against you was used so that her spells would actually work against the Gibborim. And Hulk Smash was used to send She-Hulk into a Berserker type rage. Now, what makes this weapon so powerful and scary is that it seems it can be used for literally anything and everything. So, see if you agree with me by checking out its first appearance in 2003's Runaways number 4. Number 10. The Watcher's Eye. Now, I'm sure we all know this, but a weapon doesn't need to be capable of wiping out civilizations to be considered scary. Enter the Watcher's Eye. Now, over on the moon, it was the ancient being known as Uatu the Watcher. As a Watcher, his duty was to observe the planet Earth and maintain his oath of non-interference. Basically, whenever an incredibly notable event would occur, the Watcher would typically manifest to the site of the happening so he could observe it directly. Because of everything he'd seen, the Watcher had accumulated knowledge of approximately the entire history of the planet. This included the secrets of everyone and everything, including the superheroes of the Marvel Universe. Those secrets held plenty of power and were secrets that many would kill for. In fact, the Watcher was killed for them and had his eyes removed because his knowledge and memories were stored within his eyes. The power of the Watcher's eyes were then unlocked, showing the Marvel heroes many terrible surprises that had been kept hidden from them for years. This was so terrifying because anyone in possession would have almost limitless information at their disposal, which is exactly what happened when the orb came into possession of one of the eyes and decided to take up the Watcher's job with a bit of a more dark influence. To get the full story on the Watcher's Eye, check out the Watcher's story starting with his first appearance in 1963's Fantastic Four, number 13. Number 9. The Phoenix Gun. Created by Beast, the Phoenix Gun is honestly exactly what it sounds like. It is a Phoenix Force powered gun. Now, what is the Phoenix Force, you ask? Well, the Phoenix Force is one of the oldest known cosmic entities around, representing life that had not been born yet, as well as the forces of creation and destruction. The Phoenix Force is an immortal, indestructible, and immutable manifestation of the prime universal force of life. It is the nexus of all psionic energy, which does, has, and will ever exist in all realities of the Omniverse. Now, it is perhaps the most powerful cosmic energy in all of the Marvel Universe. Its raw strength has been known to wipe out entire solar systems and is responsible for the mass genocide of a countless number of planets. Now, imagine all of that power and energy packed into a single bullet. That is exactly what this gun is and what it does, thanks to the Phoenix Bullet. This gun was almost wielded by Spider-Man just before he was knocked out by Wolverine, who thought that he would be better suited to shoot it, mostly because he knew that the sheer power of the Phoenix Gun would erase the existence of whoever used it. Now, this entire story arc deserves a read, so check out The Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine by Jason Aaron. Number 8. Wand of Watoomb. The magical artifact created by none other than Watoomb. There are said to be 6 of them scattered across the dimensions, each bearing the same name and same powers. Each wand is controlled by the mere thoughts of its user, primarily for enhancing, multiplying, gathering, focusing, and redirecting mystical energies. They can be used to block mystical attacks and use the energy absorbed to either heal the wielder, unleash a damaging blast, or erect a defensive barrier. They can also be used to control the elements, open portals to other dimensions, and allow the wielder to scry any person, place, or thing they're familiar with. In the modern age, the wands have been wielded by Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, Yondu, and Victor Von Doom, all using them to either fix or eliminate depending on their alignment, you know? The Wand of Watoomb also appeared in the MCU in Doctor Strange, where Wong uses it during the final fight in Hong Kong. Check Check it out for yourself in its first appearance in 1965's Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 2, or why not just rewatch Doctor Strange to see it in action on the big screen. Number 7. Universal Weapon. Currently owned and used by Ronan the Accuser, the Universal Weapon is the signature weapon used by the Publican Forces to enforce Kree laws. The Universal Weapon is capable of many things, such as energy blasts, force fields, flight, and is even able to change the structure of whatever it strikes on a molecular level. Now, it's made of an extremely hard material and contains a fail-safe measure that shocks any unauthorized users. Ronan himself is very proud that he owns one of these weapons, saying that even this one single weapon I hold, it has the potential to create and destroy all physical matter, as I may will it. The scientist Janet Stein was able to build herself a version of the Universal Weapon as well, but it was designed with a big flaw, a common error in engineering that allowed a non-user to interfere with his logic tree, basically meaning that anyone could use it or anyone could mess with it, which Reed Richards exploited in a fight against the Steins. Take a look at the Universal Weapon for yourself in its first appearance in 1967's Fantastic Four, number 65. Number 6. Magic Soul Sword. The Soul Sword was created by Ilyana Rasputina during the period in which she was trapped in a limbo dimension ruled by Belasco. She magically caused her own life force energy to manifest before her, and once this happened, she cast her hand into the Eldritch energy and drew from it the Soul Sword, a rather simple looking blade at first. However, it began to develop intricate designs and forms the more Ilyana used it, also becoming more powerful with each use. You can use it as a physical weapon if you want, but its main use is to disrupt magical spells and beings, usually permanently. It was accompanied by armor covering magic left shoulder, chest, and arm as well. Control of these soul swords seems to guarantee mastery over Limbo, but its full power could only be accessed by magic herself. Its full arsenal of powers includes the ability to strike mainly the supernatural and ethereal, spell breaking and countering, armor and weapon summoning, and augmentation magic. Other known users of the Soul Sword are Kitty Pryde, Colossus, and Nightcrawler, with a few others thrown in there too. However, like I said, no one can access the full capabilities of it other than Magic herself. Check out the sword for yourself, starting with its first appearance in 1983's Uncanny X-Men number 171. Number 5. The Crimson Gem of Cytorak. Many millennia ago, the Octessants, the 8 mighty beings of magical power, found themselves arguing about who was the strongest. Attempting to end the debate, they made a wager that would be known as the Wager of Octessants, where they each put a fragment of their impressive power into a totem and established that the first mortal to come into contact with each being's respective item would turn into an exemplar and become the living embodiment of that power. Cytorak created his gem, but he cheated in the wager. He opted to make avatars before the wager went underway, and his avatar was none other than Cain Marko. Transforming into the Juggernaut, Cain Marko became one of the strongest villains on Earth. However, the gem works for anyone who touches it, turning an individual into an unstoppable force. Yet for all the power someone acquires when they become the Juggernaut, it's only a fraction of Cytorak's might. That might sound like a bit of a letdown, but it has been stated that if used differently, the tiny bit of power that the gem bequeaths is enough to control the fabric of the universe. Still, with that tiny fraction of power, Juggernaut is basically indestructible, with the only thing that's really able to harm him being psychic or telepathic powers. Check out this gem for yourself in its first appearance in 1965's X-Men number 12. Number 4. Casket of Ancient Winters. Now, if you're not trying to encase the entire universe in an icy, frigid tundra, then you probably shouldn't go opening the Casket of Ancient Winters. It was an Asgardian artifact which contains the Fimbulwinter of Ymar. It created the massive snowstorms it opened. Not only that, but it holds the fury of 1,000 killing winters. The temperature unleashed by the casket is so severe that even frost giants, who typically, relish in the icy weather and have frost in their actual names, are capable of being frozen by the casket's fury. If a world does find itself on the receiving end of the casket, there is only one way in which to reverse the effects, which is Odin's secret gem of infinite suns. The opposite of the casket, the gem contains the essence of 100 stars. Funnily enough, the Casket of Ancient Winters appeared in the MCU in the first Thor movie. It actually proved pretty central to the movie's plot, as its ice powers led Loki to discover his true heritage as a frost giant. Check it out for yourself in the movie Thor, or head all the way back to 1984's Thor number 346. Number 3. The Star Brand. The asteroid bearing the power of the Star Brand was called to Earth 66 million years ago before the present day, with the impact causing a mass extinction that wiped out the majority of life on the planet, including the dinosaurs. The Star Brand then transferred itself to a lasting T-Rex, which used its power to defend the planet from those who would threaten it. It did take a little bit, but the T-Rex eventually perished and a mystical oasis called the Garden grew over its resting place. 65 million years later, the garden was destroyed when the star brand claimed the prehistoric human Vin as its second host. Eventually, the hero Quasar came to the new universe while lost in a trek through alternate realities. Ken Connell had passed the brand onto a US Air Force pilot who Quasar found and convinced to give him the brand. He used his power to return to Earth 616, but he accidentally brought Earth 148,611 with him. Skip ahead a tiny bit, and after a conflict between warring factions vying for control of the brand, the Living Tribunal declared the brand to be a threat to the universal order. He then sealed that Earth off behind an impenetrable barrier so that the brand could never interact with the rest of the universe. This is a power that you should definitely check out for yourself because not seeing in action doesn't do it any justice, so check out 1986's Star Brand, number 1. Number 2, the Ultimate Nullifier. One of the most powerful weapons in comic books, the Ultimate Nullifier's abilities are terrifying. Its power is so great that in the right circumstances, whoever used the Ultimate Nullifier could take on Thanos, even if the Mad Titan was wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. Such a battle would likely destroy all reality, but hey, I mean, a win is a win, right? So what makes the Ultimate Nullifier so frightening? Well, it can actually eliminate anything from existence, and I mean literally anything. It can destroy anyone or even destroy something abstract like multiple timelines. The only prerequisite is that the user has to have sufficient intellect and willpower to use it. If the user's will is not strong enough, they'll be destroyed along with their intended target and probably the rest of the universe. When Galactus first appeared to devour the Earth, the Watcher broke his oath of non-interference and assisted the Fantastic Four by providing them with the Nullifier's location. The Fantastic Four then hunted down the tiny device, and Reed Richards then used it to scare Galactus away from the planet. Interestingly enough, there might actually be 2 Ultimate Nullifiers in existence, as the one held by Titus is remarked as being assembled in accordance with the information deciphered from a Regillian recorder, and is referred to as an Ultimate Nullifier instead of the Ultimate Nullifier. Check out this ultimate weapon for yourself in its first appearance in 1966's Fantastic Four, number 50. Number 1, the Heart of the Universe. While the Infinity Gauntlet and its gems might give the wielder control over space, time, power, etc., even the fabled glove is no match for the Heart of the Universe. An object of literally infinite proportions, anyone who manages to possess it will in turn become the supreme being of the Marvel Universe. This means that they'll become even mightier than beings like the One Above All, who is literally God, and the Fulcrum. Created by Marvel's supreme being in an effort to correct an original imbalance in the fundamental nature of the Marvel Universe, there's really nothing in the entire Marvel Universe that even comes close to its power. Now, aside from an alternate Thanos, the only individuals who find the Heart of the Universe was an alien race called the Celestial Order, who wanted to use the Heart's power to enforce their will on creation. Of course, it didn't pan out for the Celestial Order, but that hasn't stopped 1 or 2 folks from trying to harness the Heart's amazing power. While we have not seen the object in the mainstream Marvel Universe, there have been hints that it's out there somewhere just waiting to be found. Check out the Heart of the Universe for yourself in its first appearance in 2003's Marvel Universe: The End, number 2.